I think it was one of the first grapefruit bombs I ever had.
Yeah.
But remember, IPA is just a fad, Johnny.
It's just a fad that started 200 years ago. It's going to be done anytime now.
They found him face down in his waffles, maple syrup dripping from his fake robe. Who did he see when
All
he
right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room. It is Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hi, Mr. Samurai.
Hey, guys, and happy King Tut Day.
Happy King Dut Day to everybody. Did I say King Dut Day? Did I just say that?
Well, there's a new dish at the Chinese restaurant.
That's what King Dut Day. Yeah, there you go.
It's not on the gold serve, it's a
Happy
chicken
King Tut Day to everybody. It's also National Sandwich Day.
It is an eating healthy day, and I had two chili cheese dogs for lunch. So I don't think that counts for eating healthy.
Oh, that's very healthy.
And do they count for sandwiches?
You know, that's been a debate for years. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Now, a hamburger is a sandwich.
Yes,
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
because the two pieces of bread actually one piece of bread folded over, does it make it a sandwich?
Right,
Is
and also it's not flat up and down with the meat in the middle. It's
cradled.
It's cradled, exactly.
But
So
what about a pita full of, like, say, chicken salad? Is that a sandwich?
no, it's pita.
So then maybe a hot dog is not a sandwich.
Or if a pita, so that'll be the rule. If a pita is a sandwich, then a hot dog is a sandwich.
I have to go there.
Pita is not a sandwich, then a hot dog is not a sandwich.
You know tomorrow is
Yes, tomorrow is International Stout Day.
one of my favorite days, and we'll get back to that because I may celebrate a day early.
Yes, you might. You might. So yeah, we'll get back to that later in the show.
But we got business to take care of first.
We got business to take care of first. First item on the agenda would be what are you drinking for this first beer there, Mr. Samurai?
Well, early for International Stout Day, and we'll make this a topic a little later. I'm drinking a Black is Beautiful from Trillium.
There you go.
And the reason it's important that I say where it's from is because so many breweries brewed this particular open source beer. And we'll talk about open source beers a little later after the news or before we get to the news.
After the news. We'll talk about them after the news.
Okay, so we're going to get this. And it's a stout, so it's going to pour dark, right?
Mhm.
Now, the thing
You
I
would
want
hope. Although I have had a couple of light stouts before, or white stouts, as it were.
stouts that are, oh, yes, white stouts.
Mhm.
When did I have one? But here, I've actually got the matching glass.
Look at that. You are set.
This is from 8% Drip is the name of the company. They're also a brewery, but they made the official goblet of Black is Beautiful.
They did. While you pour that, we have a comment already just on the sandwich thing. I did get back to it. John Donovan says, if the sausage sandwich at Citi Field is a sandwich, then a hot dog is a sandwich.
John's not wrong.
John is not wrong. Good point, John.
John is rarely wrong, yet he still watches us.
This is true. This is true.
And that's kind of wrong.
Well, if watching us is wrong, I don't want to be right.
I fed you that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did. I'm not singing it, though. Don't worry.
And hopefully, in our first set of news, we won't be singing either, and that will be the gift.
This is true. This is true. So why don't you tell us about the beer since, folks, just in case you were wondering, this entire podcast today, we start, just like we did on the sports podcast last week, we're going to start the entire podcast on video. We will still upload the entire podcast. So you can still listen to it, listen to the audio. Not a problem. But we will be doing the entire podcast live on Facebook here.
Well, it's a stout, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Big surprise. And it's Trillium, so there seems to be a touch of lactose in it, which is nice. I like when so we joke about the use of lactose quite often.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done it yet so far on the show, but privately we joke about lactose. There's so many breweries. I'm going to leave some of them unnamed. I'm not talking about our friends, but some others who they think the more lactose, the better. And all it does is makes it overly sweet, leaves a chalky aftertaste. Some kind of the mouthfeel of them afterwards is just awful.
Mm-hmm.
Judicious use of lactose. Lactose should be used, and you've heard me say this before, like salt on food.
Sure.
Where, the right amount really enhances the beer.
Right.
too much of it, and you've pretty much destroyed it. And the great thing about Trillium is they know how to use lactose. But so we got roast. There's, as expected, there's vanilla notes to this, and that is a yummy beer. Coffee notes, but that vanilla, almost plays a little bit like marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
When you put vanilla and lactose together, for me, that always plays as marshmallow.
Right.
But there's a major point behind this beer, and as John said, we will touch on that later.
Yes, we'll get into that a bit later. But stout-wise, beer-wise itself, what's the ABV on it? I don't know if you said it or not.
No, I didn't, and actually, that's why I put the cheaters on here. Try to find it on the can. Down here. Oh, it's only 10.7.
10.7%.
10.7.
I actually had it up on the computer right over here, but I wanted to see if you can.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you the nod to do that first. So.
How does it stack up against the beer you are starting with?
Well, the beer I'm starting with, I'm going in the complete opposite direction because I'm going light to heavy, as opposed to your opposite mode, which is fine. I'm going to start with Watch Me Whip.
And watch you nay nay?
And watch me nay nay. Watch Me Whip is a 7% New England IPA. I'm going to open it here. Hold on one second.
It's also a song by Will Smith's daughter, is it not?
Very possibly. Possibly.
Someone's going to look it up and comment for us and confirm. That's a bit of a pour there.
It's a bit of a pour. That's a what kind of pour is that?
In Rhode Island, it's referred to as a pour.
A Liz pour?
Yeah. So if Liz is watching, hey Liz.
I forgot we got these cool new banners to use, and I didn't start it because I thought you were actually going the opposite way. So your beer would have been while you were drinking your beer. This would have been scrolling on the bottom.
Rolling across the bottom there.
Rolling across the bottom.
Bottom.
So, the bottom.
Your second. Did you start drinking before the show?
I started drinking early. So did you.
You got good and drank.
Good and drank. While this head goes down a little bit, because there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to take a sip of that. You can talk a little bit more about your Black is Beautiful, since we have the nice crawl there on the bottom.
Yeah, because before we get to the news, you got to be able to drink. The Black is Beautiful was it was in support of the BLM movement, Black Lives Matter. Was the trying to remember here. My memory's really bad. Yeah, it was at Weathered Souls. Weathered Souls came up with the idea that everyone would brew this, and the proceeds to the beer would go towards charities that supported, was it the legal fees of anybody arrested in BLM protests?
I believe so.
Peaceful protests. So it's a wonderfully socially conscious beer. Mm-hmm. And it was not the first of its kind, the first stout, and we'll get more into that a little later. So how's your beer looking?
It's getting there, but is there any more tasting notes on the Black Lives Matter beer?
Not that I'm pulling out. It's your classic, lactose stout, lactose imperial stout notes that we talked about. I'm
looking at some of the tasting notes on Untappd right now that Trillium actually put up on their particular, on the one you're drinking. They used Papua New Guinea vanilla beans as opposed to the Madagascar that everybody seems to lean towards.
Thinking that the vanilla I was tasting there may have been from Papua New Guinea and not Madagascar, that everyone uses because it's that special. Yeah, I'm so full of it.
This is apparently they. I'll just read it to you. For the collaborative version, is this the collaborative version with White Lion, or is this the?
This is with White Lion.
With White Lion, yeah. This is the. They brewed the shared with the shared recipe from Weathered Souls, and they blended it with 2 currently unreleased bourbon and rum barrel aged beers. 80% of the recipe from Weathered Souls, and 20% of the rum barrel aged and bourbon barrel aged beers. 20% of them, and then they aged that entire beer in its entirety on the vanilla beans.
So you're telling me there's no lactose in this?
I didn't get there yet. Hold on. Resulting imperial stout is luscious, full-bodied, and offers an incredibly complex nose with baked good aromas. There's
your lactose.
With baked good aromas. I'm trying to figure out what the phrasing of that is. Of cacao chunk brownies and brown sugar glazed hazelnut cookies. Wow, that's a mouthful in a couple of ways.
Yeah.
So, but they're incredibly proud to share this beer with you.
With me?
With you. That's what it says. It says right on tap. It says with Dave.
I'm proud.
All
I'm
right.
proud to be sharing it with them.
All right. So
You.
we'll get to my beer. Right now I'll be drinking, as I showed you before, Watch Me Whip from Source Brewing in Colts Neck, New Jersey. It's a 7% New England IPA. There it is right there. I'm going to take a sip of this beer. Oh, that's tasty. That's really tasty.
You threw the adverb in there. Thank you.
That's really tasty. 7%. It's crazy good. As most of their New Englands and most of the beers, period, are. But tons of oats in this. As you can tell from the title, Watch Me Whip. It's super, super fluffy. Let me get another comment here. There you go. There's your answer.
So that is not Will Smith's daughter, is it?
Apparently not. Thanks for that info, Becky. Cilento.
I'm quite relieved that I had that wrong.
I am quite relieved that you had that wrong too. But
I thought that because there was one program where I think him, his daughter, and his son were all dancing to it.
I believe you're right.
And then they did the Carlton dance afterwards with the actor from Carlton.
What was his name? I'll remember it.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. Do you remember what the song that Carlton used to dance to would be? Alfonso Ribeiro, that was his name.
Alfonso, that's right. That would be Tom Jones's It Ain't Unusual.
It's not unusual.
It's not unusual.
It's not unusual. It's not unusual to have... No, I'm sorry.
Here we go.
There you go. Funny story about that. The gentleman that played drums on that song for Tom Jones on that exact track used to live across the street from me. God rest his soul, he passed away about 5 years ago. But great guy. He was 85 when he passed away. But the stories he had about all of the people he had played drums with and everything else. He actually he was the original fifth Beatle, if you will. The drums on Love Me Do, the song Love Me Do, the first single from the Beatles, Ringo did not play drums on that. That was played by this same gentleman. Andy White is his name.
What? Right.
Yes. And Ringo, if you listen to Love Me Do, there's a tambourine part in Love Me Do. That's played by Ringo, but the drums are played by Andy White. And here we go. John Donovan just said, "You beat me to it" with that. John Donovan actually lived next door to Andy White, across the street from me.
So, but do you know where Alfonso got the Carlton dance from?
Where did Alfonso get the Carlton dance from?
According to an interview with him, he just sped up Courtney Cox's dance in the Springsteen song. What was that he danced in?
In Dancing in the Dark.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
He apparently just sped it up. And if you look at the two, that seems right.
And if you want to go down that route, if you check out Wham, Wake Me Up Before You Go, they pretty much do the same dance as well. So,
Wham! when they earned the exclamation mark.
Exactly. So anyway, to finish this up, this is really good. I mean, it's nice and hazy. It's not super opaque, but it's nice and hazy. So it would make the Haze Boys proud. That head is still holding on, a little lacing there. That's nice. But it's the mouthfeel is just really, really creamy. Tropical notes. It's like almost like orange juice in it. Like there's ripe mango, pineapple. It's really good.
It's like an orange whip.
You want to call it an orange whip? Call it an orange whip. There you go. Well, that about wraps up my first beer. Why don't we get to some news?
What news is there, Johnny?
Well, let's first raise a glass to Mr. Augie Carton. His birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Augie.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Hope you had a great one. And we both hope that you drank something nice.
He probably drank something nice, probably drank something amazing. And from what I understand, he did his annual tradition and brewed with his friend up from Plan B.
Yes, he brewed with Plan B. Is that Plan Jersey? Or something like that, or something like that. But yeah, he came down. I saw the picture of them collabing. But anyway, I got a question for you before we get to the thing you want to speak about. Did you see this new release from BrewDog?
Is this the where they pumped up the ABV even more?
Well, yeah, that's not what I was referring to, but yes, they brewed they not only did they brew a few weeks ago, or actually a month at this point ago, the highest ABV beer ever made. And more on that later in another show because I actually was part and parcel of obtaining several bottles of that. So
You guys did that, did
I
you?
will not be drinking that on the show. Okay, it's 140 proof beer. So,
Can we get somebody else on the show to drink it?
I'll be drinking it, but just not on the show. So I can give you tasting notes after I drink it, but I will show the bottle and we'll talk about it on the air. But no, I was actually referring to quite the opposite of that. BrewDog actually released a non-alcoholic beer.
Oh, I saw that, and that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So the brewery that released the highest ABV beer ever released a non-alcoholic beer. So what do you think about craft breweries? And I'm not talking about O'Doul's or any of the other
Before you go there, I want to get back to
macros.
the ABV beer.
Right.
Because there used to be the battle back and forth between them and the German brewery. What was the German?
I believe so. But this was actually a collab between the two of them.
That's what I'm getting at. Is there
Right.
was the back and forth, and they had even done the Sink the Bismarck,
Before Sink the Bismarck was Tactical Nuclear Penguin.
right?
They did Sink the Bismarck, and then there was another one after that too.
Yeah, the was something like
Roadkill or something,
the end of the world, wasn't it?
or something like that. Yeah.
And it was bottled in roadkill,
It was bottled in Roadkill. That's what it was.
taxidermied roadkill. The bottles were morbid. I guess they were memento mores, right?
Right.
And then but then the war was over, and there was a truce, and they got together, and they brewed to get in that collab the highest alcohol beer to date.
Yes.
Certainly hope no one beats it.
No. Yeah. Well, that would be interesting.
60% alcohol.
60% alcohol. That is insane. And I can't wait to taste it. I will tell you the lightest of all of the beers that they have done so far was Tactical Nuclear Penguin, and I did have the pleasure of drinking that, and I can tell you right now it was Scotch, and that was only 39%.
Well, considering they're from Scotland, it makes sense.
Yeah, that was only 39%. This is almost double that. So
you're going to ask about craft breweries making non-alcoholic beer.
yeah, what's your take on that?
It's funny because I get torn on something along those lines where, we talk about craft beer and we talk about, big beer, the adjunct beers, and how, they've duped all of America into making the beer so cold that you can't taste what it tastes like. So as craft beer drinkers, we claim we drink it for the taste. And we do. And then make fun of those who just drink to get drunk. So if they're brewing a beer that has no alcohol in it and it's got the taste that we're looking for, that's kind of it's calling shenanigans on all of us. That, hey, you really drink beer for the taste? Here's one that just has taste. It doesn't have the alcohol. You're not going to get a buzz from it.
I agree with you.
Right?
I do agree with you.
So I'd like to try it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying it. Everything has its place. I mean, there have been, I have tasted non-alcoholic, the macro non-alcoholics or whatever, and
However,
however, whatever you want to say about macros or whatever, the beers were actually, they tasted not too far off of the macros. But then again, I feel about most of the macro beers. So,
as I do,
is there really any, particular comment in there? But my point is, if you do it right and you brew it right, hey, whatever. I mean, I've had plenty of 3% beers that were really tasty, and they were only 3%. So bring the ABV down even more, and
Well, our favorite beer is what 4.3, right?
4.2, 4.2.
That's why I always add that.
You were a tenth off.
10th off.
4.2.
Most
Folks,
people,
that would be boat beer in case you were playing along at home.
most people think I'm a little further off than that, but
Well, we won't go there.
no. Yeah, that's
But,
going to be to see what the distribution is on it, how much they put out, and will it flow out of the showers in their hotel in Ohio.
Exactly.
And in case you guys don't know, BrewDog does have a hotel in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what level you pay for to stay there, you can have an open tap in your room.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually coolers in the shower for shower beers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a topic we will get to one of these
We
days.
will definitely guess.
And the only thing they have not done is pumped beer through the shower heads, and now they got a non-alcoholic one.
You might as well. There you go.
You're gonna have to, do something on the flow control, right?
Exactly.
You're gonna have to have Perlick shower heads.
Exactly right. All right. Well, that brings us back to the other news item. Let's get back to these socially conscious collaborative brews that we brought up before. Not specifically Black is Beautiful, as we already mentioned that one, but all of them in general. Go, continue.
Well, I only know of two at this point.
Well, that's what we were saying with the other one.
So let me take it back.
Recently, anyway.
Take it back to beginning of the pandemic. The beginning of the pandemic was brutal on a lot of people, probably everybody, but it hit a lot of the service industries really hard, including, for the most part, bartenders. And we don't have to tell Johnny this because Jess is a bartender. Mm-hmm. John worked, for a couple of breweries distributing and selling the beer to bars that were now closed. A lot of bartenders, a lot of distribution reps, even taproom staffs at breweries, found themselves out of jobs. And one brewery, other half out of Brooklyn, saw this and they had to do something about it. So they came up with the concept of the first open source beer. We assume it's the first because never heard of the concept before. What they did is they put the recipe for the beer out on the internet. They also put artwork for the can label out on the internet, leaving room for each brewery's
logo or whatever.
To the point, and it was a great thing because there's people that were collecting the labels because what people did with the artwork. They made it their own. They even contracted with a label maker that anybody who brewed the beer would get the labels at cost. The stipulation, however, was you could brew the beer, but the proceeds from the beer went to charities for those people who worked in the bartending, distribution, the service jobs that were now out of work. So it was other half's way of, giving back to those people that have, peddled their beer since day one, and a lot of breweries, it was well over 2,000 breweries participated.
I believe it was over, yeah.
And I think it was in 20 different countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was international, yeah.
Something like that. I forget how many, but quite a few countries participated. It was a huge success, huge impact. I know myself, other friends that went out and sought out these beers. One, because this is our way of, giving back and, getting a good product out of it. Mm-hmm. But also, it's just a whole thing of, fear of missing out in case you missed one.
Absolutely, yeah. It was big time FOMO on that one.
Oh yeah. And I think I went through at least 9 different ones. I had a couple from outside of Rhode Island, but most of the ones I had were from inside Rhode Island.
I had 7 or 8, I think. 7 or 8. And they were all, I didn't have a bad one. And there were some that were like way spot on. They were like incredibly good. But I did not have one bad one. They were all close to each other anyway because it's the same recipe, so.
Well, it's funny because my favorite one is I actually think they screwed up the recipe a little bit because it was the most drinkable. It was just so easy to drink. The rest of them were like these, they're nice full-bodied double IPA,
sure, flavored,
with the hops just punching your uvula out. And, so you didn't, throw these back. One brewery in Rhode Island had one that was a little lighter in body, lighter in color. So it looks like they didn't quite follow the recipe to the T, but it made an eminently drinkable beer. Right. And it's one of my favorite beers that brewery put out. I don't want to accuse any brewery of screwing something up, so I'm not going to mention them, even though to me it was a positive thing. But then there were some breweries where I was really excited that they had done it and went to pick it up and was actually, a little disappointed. I, kind of expected more, but that means they actually did follow the recipe to the T because it tastes like everybody else's.
Right. Yeah. You were expecting better because not better than, other people's breweries, beer was bad, just better than others you've had because you like that brewery. on a higher level in your palate anyway.
Well,
And
it's not just that. It's also, these breweries have great controls in place.
sure,
Timing is spot on. They're meticulous about having the clean equipment. Everything is just, they've got it down.
sure,
Every guess is taken out by their experience and all that. Where some of the younger breweries may not have it, completely nailed down yet, but still, some of these I expect a little bit more. But they're right in there with the rest of the pack, which means they follow that recipe.
they follow the recipe to the letter, and that's what they got. And you know what? Hey, I think it was more about the socially conscious, and I'm sure you agree with me. It was more about brewing the beer as a collaborative and raising the money for the cause, more so than wanting to stand out amongst the other breweries that were doing the same thing that they were. So they stand out in front of those breweries on their own laurels with their own beer. So why do it with this one? So follow the beer to the letter and raise the money.
It was funny because I talked to one brewery owner who was talking about it and how important the cause was to him.
Right.
And he said, "You know me, I'm not screwing around with the recipe." And this is someone who likes to, they like to elevate everything to a certain level. I'll leave the name off to the side there, but I think you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I only know of one brewer who was really, I'll just use the word arrogant enough to really mess with the recipe and throw things out there. And again, I'm not going to mention that one either. It was somewhere in Florida. You know what I'm talking about now. So,
Well, there's more than one brewery in Florida, so you don't know what we're talking about. But but you know what though? I mean, when you come right down to it, though, here, who wrote the recipe?
Other half.
Okay.
I don't know.
Why would you want to screw with a recipe written by other half? You know what I mean? It's not like Joe's 2-barrel garage brewery wrote the recipe,
But then we get.
Although Joe does make a really good IPA.
Yes, I enjoyed those. But then we get the Black is Beautiful, and was something that happened, right again, close to the beginning of the pandemic.
A month or so after altogether, but still close to the beginning of it, yeah.
Where you had that cop put his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck, and it was all caught on camera, and the world exploded. Not just the United States, not just regional, the world exploded. And Weathered Soul saw an opportunity because what was going on with the protests, the peaceful Black Lives Matter protests, that some of the protesters were getting wrongfully jailed. And so they were raising money, to help with their legal fees because a lot of them couldn't afford it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that every one of those protests was peaceful.
No, there were plenty of peaceful protests, and there were plenty of non-peaceful protests. But
specifically
speaking of the peaceful ones,
yes, the vast majority were peaceful.
Right.
Yeah, we had one here in Rhode Island that was not. It wasn't technically a protest. There was a protest that day, and then I think it was like 2 a.m. A group of people broke into one of the malls here and created some havoc, pretty much undermining the whole movement. But they got admonished by the seniors in the state for it.
Sure,
But the point of the beer, the point of the beer was to raise money for the legal fees for those who were arrested during peaceful protests. And so they made it a stout because the name is Black is Beautiful. I think I found 4 or 5 of them, maybe more. I think one of my favorites was, and I drank through them quickly, was 12 Guns.
12 Guns, yes. 12 Guns was good.
Yeah, 12 Guns. I think it's one of the more underrated breweries in the state now. But theirs was, it reminded me a lot of Chocolate Yeti.
Okay.
Not Chocolate Yeti, Espresso Yeti. But that was the difference with Black is Beautiful. It was, again, an open source beer. Anybody who brewed it, they were encouraged to make the beer their own.
To make it was as opposed to what Altogether was about. This was, make it your own, put your own twist on it.
And Bolero had one of the oddest twists I heard.
That's shocking. Bolero did something with a twist.
I did not have the pleasure of having that one, but was there lactose in that one?
From Bolero? No.
There was lactose and a couple of different fruits in it.
Lactose and fruits.
They have blackberry? I forget what the fruit was.
Yeah, it was blackberry. It was lemon in it too.
And
There was
snozberries.
snozzberries, yeah, but there was lemon zest in it too, if I recall. It was blackberry. There was another berry, and then there was lemon zest.
You put lemon in something, I immediately assume it's going to be blueberry.
Yeah, right. Right. There was, and it was weird too because you didn't taste the lemon at all while you were drinking the beer. It was just a citrus, just a little light citrus note on the back end. That's all it was from that. But you definitely got it. But I thought it was odd seeing lemon zest in it was on the finish. That was it.
I've never heard of lemon zest in a stout.
No. But then again, I've never heard of a lot of things that Bob and Scott put in beer. So, and they seem to do it well.
Yes, they do.
So,
I'm upset.
mad scientists in Carlstadt, New Jersey.
I'm upset I never got to try that one.
But that was good. So, you finished with your Black is Beautiful there yet?
No, I'm drinking this one a little slower than I drink the others because this is 11.7.
Is that right?
And if you remember from this morning, I was not feeling all that well.
This is correct.
Really think it was probably something I ate the day prior. Can't figure it out yet, but at any rate, but recovered.
Yes, you did. The trooper you are.
And enjoying this. But you know what? I don't have to finish this to move on to the next.
Because you have another glass, do you?
Because I have a clean glass.
Look at that.
I love the way it's catching the light too. You like that?
That's nice.
So I'm going to reach down here for a second. And I'm going to pull out my next beer. Because if I remember correctly, you threw out a challenge.
Yes, it did.
It wasn't actually labeled a challenge, but it became a challenge to drink a style we have not had here on the podcast.
That is correct.
And as I was going through different beers here and there, I realized one style we've not done. We've not really done a wheat beer on the podcast.
No, we have not done a wheat.
And I decided to go a little over the top with the wheat beer and went with a tea wheat. So Collective Arts has done a Earl Grey wheat. There we go. From Ontario, Canada. What is that? What is just the ABV on this one? 5? As I'm reading the crawl there.
5%, yes.
5%. And, correct glass. Got the wheat glass going. I always move the glass in the wrong direction or the can in the wrong direction because the video is backwards to me on my feed. One of these days I'll get used to that. So here we go. So the nose feel. The nose feel is straight up. It's like a wit. And that makes a lot of sense that it's a wit because Earl Grey tea is black tea, believe it, Chinese black tea, and it's spiked with Earl of Bergamot, which is a bitter orange. It's the peel of a bitter orange.
Okay.
And bergamot is what its flavors with. Bergamot and cardamom for the most part. And this is smelling like a sunny wit, if that makes any sense. It's like a brighter version of a wit.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. A bright wit.
A bright wit. So many people have said that about you, John, that you have a bright wit.
I do have a bright wit. And a sunny disposition.
Yeah. Except when the Giants are playing, the Mets are playing, or the Rangers are playing.
That's correct. And I've given up on the Knicks, so we won't include them.
This is a very, very easy beer to drink. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of wits. And it's really not the bergamot. It's more the, whatever herb of choice is used. Because it's cardamom, and what's the other one that's acceptable in a wit?
Coriander?
Coriander, that's it. And I'm not fond of either of those in a beer.
Cardamom I love in winter beers.
Yeah, it's a back note,
yeah,
but not as one of the main notes.
Not a main note, back note. Yeah, there's a particular brewery that brews a double Belgian wit winter beer with a lot of cardamom and orange peel in it. It's actually really good.
Who's that?
I will not bring that up, and we'll do it on the show.
We will get winter beers. We'll get into Christmas beers.
Yes, when they release it.
Into our Thanksgiving beers.
Yes.
John told us what his favorite Thanksgiving beer is, so we expect the day before Thanksgiving for Johnny to be drinking a celebration ale.
Celebration from Sierra Nevada. You can mark that down on your calendars. I will be drinking that 3 weeks from tonight.
Wow, this is light. The sunniness continues in it. You would think, I'm looking for the black tea. I'm not finding it. The bergamot is really probably the main flavor in this. So picture a wit without cardamom or coriander, and that's what you got here.
Very nice.
I am not putting an orange on the glass.
No. You don't. No need to do that. There's enough flavor in the beer. You don't need an orange peel.
Man rule, don't fruit the beer. What are
Very
you?
nice. Me, on the other hand, I'll be drinking from Old Heights Brewing. It's a new brewery in Heightstown, New Jersey. New brewery, only up in 3.5 months, 4 months, 3 months, somewhere in there. Brewing really good beer. I've had a bunch. I've been there a couple times already. They're really nailing the brews. This is called Espen's Metal Casket.
Espen's Metal Casket.
Espen's Metal Casket.
Someone needs to research that and figure out why they call it that. That's folklore. There's got to be something in there.
Something's in there. Well, actually, the label is like a silhouette of a guy. I'm assuming that's Espen.
Maybe he was like a Scottish vampire that they threw in a metal casket so he couldn't get out. I don't know. I'm just making it up.
That's not bad.
You like that?
That's good. It's a good one. Let me open this up here.
There it is.
There we go. Very nice. Very nice. It's again, it's a wee heavy or a Scotch ale, whichever you prefer. They're both correct.
Except the wheat heavy is typically a little higher in ABV than a standard Scotch ale.
Standard Scotch ale is a little lower. This is 11.1%.
You did exceed my 10.7.
I exceeded your 10.7 by 0.4%.
We were getting Johnny drank.
Little drink. Good nose. A little bit of caramel. Oh, that's tasty. Absolutely.
Really tasty?
Yeah, nutty, malty, little toffee, caramel,
Nice. That's good.
vanilla.
Now, for anybody, I mean, most of our listeners probably have, but your Scottish ales typically very low on hop bite, just enough to cut into, so it's not cloyingly sweet.
Yeah, it's not cloying. It's a little. I mean, I don't want to. It's sweet only from the malts, obviously, but only from the little bit of the caramel and nuttiness in it. But the and the toffee, little bready, not much, just teeny little bit of bread, and biscuit, but nice vanilla actually.
That's interesting.
Mouth feels a little smooth too. It's not. It's it's there's not much head to it. Didn't even have much of a head when it poured either, but it's not as watery as you think it would be. It's actually got a nice creamy mouthfeel to it.
Well, I'm not sure I've ever had a wee heavy that did have a head to it.
I got some information right here. Named after Espen R. Cole, one of Heightstown's only undertakers in the mid-1800s. Years before his own death, he built a plain yet substantial metal casket to be buried in.
I like my story better.
Actually, for this particular style of beer, yours is probably a little bit better than the true story. But hey, you know what?
Hey, I like it.
It's still odd.
And you know, shout out to them for honoring an undertaker.
It's got to be a folklore story in Heightstown, or distant relative, family member.
Maybe, yeah, but that's honoring an undertaker. That's kind of liking that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But the beer is very, very good, very good. I almost want to drive out there and get another 4-pack before they run out of it. I did buy a 4-pack. I had it at the brewery. I had it on tap at the brewery, and it was delicious. As is this one. It's the first time I actually had it out of the can, since I still have 3 other cans of it. So I almost want to take a ride out there and get another 4-pack before they get rid of it.
At any other brewers this weekend?
No. Actually, this weekend was Halloween on Sunday.
Friday?
Saturday. We're both wrong.
Saturday. Yep. What's the difference on that one?
Sunday was split the difference exactly. But no, we honored the Halloween holiday by our neighbors. Our shout out to the G-Fibs, I will say the G-Fibs. That's our neighborhood group. It's like a first letter of each last name of each family, and we call them G-Fibs. G-Fibs, yeah. But in any event, we all sat around out in a driveway in the middle of 2 houses, and put some fire pits out and put candy out on tables for the kids to take. And Jess actually made a remote control car with a basket on it with a ghost saying "Trick or treat, smell my feet" on it, with candy in it. And she drove the car up to the kids, and they could take the candy out. She drove it back, so that was kind of cool. And of course, we were all drinking beer while we were doing this, so that's what made it good.
You're not supposed to drink and drive.
No, yeah. Well, she didn't. She put her beard down before she picked up the remote control. She did that.
She's
But it was
practiced
fun. It was
drink.
fun.
I like that.
We were out there from 2 in the afternoon, a little before 2 in the afternoon, till midnight.
Man, I hope you're drinking sessions because that's a hell of a session.
Yeah, back and forth. A little of this, a little of that. Yeah, it was good.
I'm sure a cigar or two.
2, actually. Yeah, it was good. So, what did you do this weekend?
Well, I had a 4-day weekend. Started the weekend off doing a whale watch out of Gloucester, Mass. I saw 4 humpbacks.
Yeah, but did you see any whales?
No, because did go to a brewery and there'd be no whales coming out of that brewery, I'll tell you. I'll say this about the brewery. The food was good.
There you go. There you go. That's the brewery equivalent of saying she has a great personality.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll leave it right there.
No names needed. We're good to go.
You can do the math if you paid attention to where I said the whale watch was out of. Yeah, a little disappointed, but hey, it is what it is. You know, like I said, the food was good. It was raining, so it was dry and warm inside, so that's not a bad thing. Almost everything else out on Cape Ann, where Gloucester is, a lot of it was shut down. So for the season, it seems like more of a kind of Jersey Shore kind of thing going, but
Sure.
or more New Englandy.
Right. I got you. You had asked me, and just as an aside, we'll talk more about this next week, but one of my plans this weekend, Saturday, I'm going to try to get up to a brand new brewery that opened up maybe about 20 minutes away from me in, I believe it's Matawan. It's alternate. I could be wrong on the town. Is Alternate Endings Brewing. They opened last week, and I meant to get up to them last weekend, but we didn't get a chance to. So I'm going to try and get up this Saturday, and I'll report back. Maybe I'll get some stuff. Maybe I'll even drink something on next week's podcast, depending on what beer is available and what I can bring back. But you would ask me a question before. What am I wearing?
So you're talking. Yeah, we'll get to that in just one second because you were talking about what to do this weekend.
Oh, sure.
Friday, I plan to. The weather up here is supposed to be beautiful on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This whole week actually. So I'm going to actually get on the trail again, which has been a little while, and climb Mount Monadnock.
Mount Monadnock.
Yep, it is in the southwestern corner of New Hampshire, not too far from Brattleboro. And no, I'm not going to Hermit Thrush.
Please.
Come on, Hermit Thrush now makes it into Jersey, does it not?
It does. No, it does. It does.
Yep.
But as good as the beer that makes into Jersey is, I can only imagine, because I've never actually been to the brewery. I can only imagine some of the brewery-only specialties that they have.
No, there's a brewery not too far from there called Post and Beam.
Oh, yeah. I've actually heard of them, yeah, Post and Beam.
And that's where I plan on going afterwards for my rehydration beers.
I'll have to check out their swag and see if there's anything you could pick up for me and send.
Let me know. But that's what I plan to do this weekend, so I'll be reporting back on that.
Good.
Oh, your accoutrement.
My accoutrement. So my accoutrement. I'm wearing a Surly Brewing Company T-shirt.
I have the same exact shirt.
Do you?
I may wear it next week.
But did you get yours at the brewery?
I have never been to the brewery. I have set so many people to that brewery. My brother being one of them. It was funny because my brother was in town, Minneapolis, correct?
It's in Minneapolis, yeah.
And he said, well, if I'm here, where do I need to go? I said, well, you need to go to Surly. He goes, well, I just had their IPA in the hotel lobby. I wasn't that fond of it. And I said, well, ignore that. That's one of their standard year rounds. You need to get the brewery, and if they have abrasive on tap, you need to drink abrasive. Mm-hmm. And he did go to the brewery. I knew he was at the brewery because I got a text. It was a picture of his beer. It said, I'm drinking abrasive. Is it sacrilege to say this is better than Pliny?
Wow.
Yeah, so he rather enjoyed it.
He must have enjoyed it. I had abrasive. I've had abrasive a couple of times. You know what? I mean, I'd put it in the same ballpark as Pliny. I'm not sure I would put it above Pliny, but I'd definitely put it in the same ballpark.
I think I think it's
depends on what you're eating and the mood you're in, and how long it's been since you've had plenty too. That helps too. So,
depends upon your palate.
right.
Because they're two different hop profiles. But now they're that brew pub's closed.
The Surly Brew Pub is it's at the brewery. Have they closed the brewery, the tap room in the brewery?
I think they closed the brew pub itself. I think did they run into union issues or?
I didn't hear that. I'll have to. I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yeah, they were having some issues at the brew pub. And it may have been a union thing. Not sure what was going on there, but something happened there. I don't think it's because of I don't think it was because COVID may be involved. So at any rate.
But in any event, the Surly itself, it's an amazing place. If you ever find yourself in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the brewery is just it goes on forever. It's huge, and they brew 200-barrel batches as well as some people brew 4-barrel batches. So,
well, no, it's also a wedding venue.
Yeah, they just have so much room there, but the food is really good too. And I don't mean that in the way Dave meant that about the brewery he was at last weekend either. That's in addition to the amazing beer. But no, Surly is an amazing space, and it's amazing beers come out of there. And they are available in Jersey on a limited basis. They're sending a few things in. They're not sending a big portfolio in. Just one-man mosh pit. I think they had a couple other things.
You probably get command like we do.
Yeah. So. But the brewery is, if you find yourself out in Minnesota, definitely go there. And there's a few other breweries out that way that I will definitely bring up another day and tell you about. Definitely points of interest you need to get to.
Now,
and
your hat comes from the state next door, does it not?
My hat comes from next door to Minnesota. Yes, that would be Wisconsin. It's Titletown Brewing. It's about a mile to a mile and a half away from Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Beer is very, very, very good.
So you would think that'd be Pittsburgh.
Right. Very, very good. They're actual, and just an aside from the regular beer, they actually brew root beer there. Spot on. It's a really good root beer. I'm a big root beer fanatic, and their root beer is really, really good. But again, food at their brew pub, amazing. Their cheese curds, some of the best that I had in Wisconsin. So. Very good. So that's where the hat comes from, Titletown Brewing. And of course, you're wearing a Trillium shirt that you bought at Trillium in Canton, Massachusetts. Yes,
in Canton. Had gone there, sat outside, had some drafts from them, which was fantastic. Had a food truck outside that did tacos. I think we mentioned this last week. Some of the best shrimp tacos I ever had. I'm really glad to have done it that weekend because the next weekend, Trillium announced that they would be closing down all draft pours and food at all their locations.
Yes.
So got that in just in time.
We have a question here. Becky May wants to know what type of beer is abrasive.
That is a double IPA.
It's a double entendre too, because I can tell you many beers that are abrasive, but that's besides the point.
I've known some brewery owners that are abrasive.
That as well.
And a nod to the Dippa gang as far as the commercial one of them. That was awesome. Shared.
We'll leave that alone.
But remember, IPA is just a fad, Johnny.
It's just a fad. It's just a fad that started 200 years ago.
It's
going to be done any time now.
So many people know who we're talking about now. But, I think Brayford was one of the first grapefruit bombs I ever had.
What's that?
I think it was one of the first grapefruit bombs I ever had.
Yeah,
was abrasive, and I know this for a fact. It was the first ever beer trade that I ever partook in. Yeah, so that beer's got a special place in my continuum.
And there you have it. Well, on that note, I'll raise a glass, and so will Dave. And we want to thank you for joining us tonight. Take a sip on that.
Cheers.
Folks, once again, thanks for tuning in tonight. You can check this entire podcast out audio-wise on our feed as well on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And, of course, you can check out all the links on our website, www.lagerroom.com, LAGERROOM.com. And, of course, if you're watching this on Facebook right now, please please like the page if you haven't done so already. And of course, you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter, all three at The Lager Room. And again, on the podcast feed on Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. If you have not subscribed to our feed on one of those services, please do. And you will never miss one podcast. Eventually, Dave will subscribe to one of those feeds. It takes 10 seconds, and you don't even have to go on it, but at least you subscribe to the feed.
Okay, yeah, because as much as many people think I love the sound of my own voice, I really don't.
Well, hopefully you guys, that's more important, like the sound of his voice, or at bare minimum, what he has to say, and myself as well. Folks, once again, thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. Drink a bunch of really good beer this weekend. Drink responsibly, but enjoy yourselves. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care.
Bye, guys. Going back to this one.
They found him face down in his waffles, maple syrup dripping from his fake rug. Who did he see when he heard who was there? Now it seems that he shit out of luck. This little penny went to market.